What do you think will come out of it? Will you be participating in any capacity? And what do you think of the Riyadh meeting and the opposition coalition that came out of it?
Let me start where you have just finished. We will participate at tomorrow's meeting, and I will make a statement on behalf of my government. Now, with regard to the first part of your question, this resolution, the way is described, the way it was explained inside the Security Council itself a few minutes ago, is what we call a global framework to combat terrorism, meaning that this resolution constitutes a compilation of all previous resolutions on combating terrorism adopted by the Security Council. All, I mean. The other 12 resolutions on combating terrorism adopted by the Security Council, starting with 1267 and ending up with 2199, all of them are being included for the first time in a comprehensive draft resolution on combating terrorism. What does that mean? That means a lot. For the first time, the 15 member states are engaged, seriously speaking, not only politically, but also technically speaking. You call it financially, it's technical. But which means we are not only engaged at the level of the diplomats and foreign affairs, foreign ministers, but also at the level of finances, ministers of finances and the technical experts on combating terrorism. Now, nobody could allude or manipulate the issue of combating terrorism under any pretext or under any argument. The Syrian government kept asking for 3 years to deal with Daesh and Al-Qaeda and all other terrorist organizations as entities, terrorist entities, by the Security Council. To be honest with you, many times, our call to deal with Daesh, seriously speaking, were blocked by some Western members in the Security Council. 10 times press statement, draft press statements, and the draft presidential statements were blocked by some Western countries, and they were not, and these statements were not adopted consequently by the Security Council, although they were drafted to condemn terrorist acts perpetrated on the soil of my country, Syria. Some of them were suicidal bombers, some of them were booby cars, bombings that killed scores of civilians. So now this new resolution will not give authorization to anybody to evade or misinterpret the Security Council iron will to combat terrorism. Here I'm, of course, including the issue of oil trade, artifacts trade, all of them illegal, definitely, which are fulfilled by the terrorist groups through Turkish mediators and through the Turkish soil.
Ambassador, are you prepared to participate in peace talks with the opposition groups that met in Riyadh? And have you heard any dates from the UN about when those talks will?
I will comment on these kind of questions tomorrow in the meeting which will be allocated to this issue.
One further question, though, on tomorrow. The timeline of the Vienna process has been announced for some time. Peace talks and a ceasefire in January, just weeks away. Is that realistic?
I will address this issue tomorrow in a special press conference. Yes.
Ambassador, just explain to us how you'll participate tomorrow and how, you know, what your hopes are.
We will participate as usual. I will make a statement on behalf of my government, as usual. I mean, business as usual.
Russia has, Ambassador, Russia has,
in the morning.
excuse me. Ambassador, Russia has accused Turkey of buying oil from ISIS. Do you have any information on that?
We did accuse the Turkish government of dealing with ISIS in this illegal oil trade and artifacts trade long time ago. If you may remember, we raised this concern 2 years ago. And at many times, at many occasions, our requests to deal with this issue seriously were somehow avoided by some influential members in the Security Council. Nowadays, we have just co-sponsored this resolution, and this is for the first time the Syrian government co-sponsors a draft resolution on combating terrorism. We did that because we believe that this resolution, if implemented, would prevent once for all the Turkish government from playing these double cards with everybody or misleading the so-called international community. It's no secret anymore that the Turkish government is deeply involved in this, in the financing of the Daesh networks, as well as other terrorist entities such as Ahrar al-Sham and other armed groups operating inside Syria. I would like to refer you to a very important article published this week by the Der Spiegel, which discloses for the first time again that European companies of telecommunications are providing ISIL with technological services to avoid the control of the special police in Europe as well as in the world. So some European companies are also involved in this illegal trade of oil and artifacts, and they are helping the terrorists of Daesh and Jabhat al-Nusra in the field of telecommunications.
Do you think that the current
Communications, sorry.
Do you think the current resolution or any of the previous ones you mentioned will be addressing what are described as the root causes of terrorism, or will this just be the superstructure without dealing with the rampant inequality and the
Thank you for this question. It's very important. You are absolutely right. This is why we have always said that we don't need the new resolutions. We need to implement the current resolutions. We need to see real commitment by the governments, all the governments, to the existing resolutions, Security Council resolutions on combating terrorism. This one is a little bit different because it is a compilation of all the resolutions. It is the final standpoint by the Security Council on the issue of combating terrorism. For the first time, we are not addressing only and exclusively the financial issue aspect of terrorism. We are addressing all the aspects, not only the financial. This resolution does not address only the financial aspect. It addresses all the aspects related to terrorism. So all what we need is to see the member states' governments implementing this resolution and the previous resolutions also. Some of the members in the Security Council are an integral part of the crisis which exists right now in Syria and Iraq by helping Daesh, ISIL, and others. And here, of course, I'm referring, as I said, to the Turkish government, for instance. It's not a secret anymore. Even the Americans are criticizing the Turkish government for not controlling and monitoring the borders with Syria. So, I mean, this big issue is now well known to everybody. The Turkish government is involved, the Saudi government is involved, the Qatari government is involved, the Jordanian government is involved. Enough is enough. The Syrian bloodshed is not cheap. The Iraqi blood is not cheap. The Syrian blood is not cheap. We have to put an end to this hypocrisy inside the Security Council itself by some members.
Ambassador, could you speak to tomorrow's meeting, your hopes, and maybe speak to issues of who you perceive as spoilers in the peace process?
I will address this issue
then we have
widely tomorrow.
We need a soundbite to work with early in
Tomorrow,
the morning.
I promise
You can't give it to us now?
You will see me tomorrow.
Mr. Ambassador, the U.S. recently levied sanctions on an individual that it said was facilitating the oil trade between effectively your government and ISIS. Is the government buying oil in any way from ISIS or middlemen that may be involved with ISIS?
This is a very naive question because we have co-sponsored the draft resolution which was adopted a few minutes ago. We have co-sponsored the main global comprehensive resolution ever adopted by the Security Council on combating illegal oil and artifacts trade with the terrorists, including ISIL. What you have alluded to is absolutely incorrect.
Ambassador, can you at least give us a comment as to whether you welcome the peace talks tomorrow? Is this something you support? What's your position?
Tomorrow there will be peace talks? Who told you that? Who told you there will be peace talks? You are insisting on getting something, but I will not give you anything because we are waiting till tomorrow. And tomorrow meeting is not about peace talks. The peace talks are only among the Syrians themselves without any foreign interference. Without any foreign interference. Underline it. And we will address it tomorrow. Yes, the meeting is about it, but it's not peace talks.
So how would you characterize them then?
Tomorrow I will characterize it.
What about this
Thank you.
Saudi-led coalition? Do you have any what do you think of this 34-country coalition announced by Saudi Arabia to fight terrorism, based in Riyadh, with involving Benin and a number of other African countries as well as Gulf countries? What do you think of it?
It's unfortunately another misstep, misdeeds by the Saudis with regard deviating and shifting the attention from the main front, which is combating terrorism, globally speaking, and within a united and unified front. We don't need to combat ISIL through an Islamic Sunni coalition, then an Islamic Shi'i coalition, and then a Christian coalition, and then an American coalition, and then a Russian coalition, and then quadripartite coalition. You don't combat terrorism this way. You combat terrorism genuinely when you build up one coalition encompassing all these people and all these states. The Saudis' move is aimed at emptying the idea of combating terrorism, globally speaking, from its main meaning. Let me explain to you why. Theoretically speaking, these 33 or 34 countries you have mentioned, which are part of the new Saudi coalition, are themselves already part of the American coalition. Just to give you an idea about how superficial and how unprofessional the constitution of this so-called coalition is. You are taking 33 countries out of this American coalition members, and you are calling them Islamic Sunni coalition. It's appalling, it's nonsense, it's shameful to divide the Muslims into Sunni and Shia, because after all, we believe firmly that the establishment of such a Saudi coalition without having all the Muslims, all the Islamic countries on board is a good recipe for divisions among the Islamic world, as well as a good justification for the terrorists to play this division of labor between who is Muslim and who is not Muslim. So they are playing the cards of ISIL, actually. They are fulfilling the objective of ISIL by ignoring to have everybody on board. How could the Saudis combat ISIL in Syria and Iraq while they are failing in Yemen and destroying Yemen? What is this double language? And who would believe the Saudis anymore when they talk about combating terrorism? They are the main reason of spreading and disseminating the Takfiri and Wahhabi thoughts all over the Islamic world. They are behind these ramifications of terrorist entities all over the world. They are the ones who are financing this terrorism all over the world. The root causes of the terrorism in the world is in Saudi Arabia itself. Thank you.